Hello friends, welcome to my channel Together with Abhi. In this video we are going to talk about few of the best practices to be followed while starting with AWS. So the first is multi-factor authentication. Normally there is just one way, which is username and password, to log into your management console. But with multi-factor authentication, you are able to generate a one-time password, which is an additional security measure for your application. Second important feature is the admin user creation. Normally when you sign up, the user which is created by default is called the root user, and it has elevated rights. It is not recommended that you use root user for your day-to-day activities. An admin user is a good way of starting the AWS work. And the last thing that we are going to work in today's practical session is creating an alert for billing when it reaches above a minimum threshold. So let's get started. Okay friends, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to sign into the console. So we click here and we are going to log in as the root user. So you see here there are two options. One is root user, the other is IAM user. Root user is the one for which we have email address and the password, the one that we use for the sign up initial, which gets created by default, but it has got elevated rights. Okay. So we are going to set up the MFA for this. We are going to go to My Security Credentials. Within that, you will find an option for multi-factor authentication, activate MFA, and now you can see there are multiple options provided. So we can have multi-factor authentication using virtual device or an actual hardware device. What is a virtual device? You are going to install a software or an application on your mobile which is going to provide you random OTPs, random one-time passwords. So this mechanism is called virtual MFA device. The other mechanism is you have certain hardware like a token, for an example RSA token, and this device keeps on providing you random one-time passwords, so you can use that also to generate the one-time passwords. But in this module, we are going to use virtual mechanism and we are going to utilize Google Authenticator. So what you have to do is at this stage, you need to go back to your mobile and you have to download and install an application called as Google Authenticator. You can find it on App Store or Play Store, and you just have to do that. So once you have installed, it looks like this. The first screen is like this, the Google Authenticator app. You have to click on Begin, and once you click Begin, it is going to ask you for QR code. Now this QR code would be made available to you from the AWS Management Console. So let's get started. We will first click Begin. Okay, so as I mentioned, it asks for a barcode. So you click on Scan a barcode. After that, you put your mobile on the Show QR code option shown on the AWS Management Console, and the account gets added. It is as simple as that, right? Now, what it requires is it requires two MFA code. So any two random generated numbers in series, you just have to provide those. So in this case, we just provided the two numbers in series and we do assign an MFA, and it has successfully assigned virtual MFA. Now what this means is, now when we log out and whenever we try to log in back again, it is just not going to ask me my username and password, but it is also going to ask me the one-time password. So let's sign out and let's try to sign back in. So as I mentioned, I have to give my username and password, and also with that it is going to ask me for one-time password, MFA code. This MFA code I will have to get back to my application Google Authenticator that I installed on my mobile. It is going to show me some random number. I have to give that password here, that one-time password, and I'm logged back in. Okay, so this is an added security feature which is made available to us. So now that we are logged in, we can also delete this feature. So we again go back to My Security Credentials. Within that, multi-factor authentication, manage, and just click the remove button. But we are not going to remove it here. We are still going to continue using it. But I just wanted to let you know that these are the recommendations by AWS. If in case you want to check that, just go to the IAM services. So within services, we type IAM, which stands for Identity and Access Management. And you see there are five green ticks that we need. So out of these, just there are three which have been ticked so far. We already have, we can delete root access keys. We have activated MFA. And as security feature, it also tells that we must be creating an individual IAM user. It doesn't recommend that for every day-to-day activity we use root user. Rather, we should be creating a user which have rights to work on the day-to-day activities. Also to assign permissions to those users using certain groups, and also to follow IAM password policy. So what we are going to do now, we are going to follow these recommendations. We are going to create a user, assign it to some group, and assign a policy or permission to that group. So let's create a user. We click on add user. As soon as we click add user, it is going to ask me the username. We are going to provide the username as administrators. It can have two kind of access. One is programmatic access, which allows to use AWS using API, CLI, or SDK. But for this, we are going to provide it access using Management Console, this website which we see. We're just going to generate a password, a custom password for now. But we are also asking this user that when it logs in for the first time, it has to regenerate the password. We create a group. So we are going to cover this in IAM module in detail, but for now, what we are doing is we have a policy. These policies are created by AWS, or we can create these policies by ourselves as well. So there's already a policy created, administrator access. We are going to map this policy to a group called as admins, and we are going to have our user added to this group. Okay, so whoever user is part of this group with a mapped policy for administrator access will have all the admin rights. So if we go and see this policy, you see the admin user would have any action it can do on any kind of resources. So let's just create this group and assign it a policy. Now the user is not created yet, but the group has been created. We can provide additional tags. These are key value pairs for any additional information that you want to provide, but we are not going to do that. We just review. So the username is administrator. It has AWS Management Console access. Let's just create the user. So the user gets created with name administrators. We can log into this user at the URL provided here. Abhilash 1986 would be the account ID, which the user will have to provide at the time of sign in, and it can find its credentials from the CSV files. So this is the chance, as it is mentioned, the last chance these credentials will be available to download. So please save it securely. Now let's log in. Now, as you can see, there are firstly the CSV file has all the credentials. It tells you the username, the account ID, and the console login link. So we log in from this link. Now you can see there are two kind of users. One is administrator. The administrator user or the root user requires email address, right? But the IAM user, it requires account ID. So we give the account ID. We give the username and password that we generated for the first time. But as I mentioned, we will have to regenerate the new password. So we type in the new password, retype it, and we confirm it. So a new user has been created. Has got administrator permissions. So we are going to utilize this user for all our administration activities. At this time, you can also create another users because it is administrator user. It has got elevated rights. It can create other users as well. So you can do that from here. We are not doing it. So this is the user, and it has got access to all the modules, mostly all the modules like billing, invoice, security credentials, everything. Now let's create from the security credentials the MFA for this as well. As a best practice, we are going to do that. So we go to manage virtual MFA device. Now the process is going to be exactly same. So I'm just going to show it quickly to you. You just have to again do a scan of the barcode, assign to MFA codes the way we did last time, and it is going to create an MFA OTP generation for this user as well. We can test it quickly from the same Google Authenticator app. You can use two accounts, one for root and the one for administrator user, to always generate MFA code for you. So this time it is going to ask me account ID, username, password, but additionally also the MFA code, which I provided here. So we are following the kind of all the recommendations now provided by AWS. So if we log back into a root user, so we are at this point, I'm just going to, yes, we are here at the root user. And let's go to IAM service and see if in case we have all the 6 recommendations ticked in green now or not. So we go back to IAM service, and yes, as expected, we already have followed all the recommendations, and all the recommendations have been ticked green. So we have created MFA for both the users. Now the last thing that we are going to talk about is about the billing. So we are going to generate a billing alert. So we go to the billing module within services section. From here we go to billing preferences. In billing preferences, as you see here, you can do multiple activities: receive PDF invoice by email, receive billing alerts. We are going to manage the billing alerts. And we come to a very important service which is called as CloudWatch. CloudWatch we are going to cover later, but for now you can see that I've already have an alarm created called as billing_Abhilash. What this alarm does, when my billing charge, the estimated charge of any service that I have used, it goes above a certain threshold level, it is going to send me a mail. How we can do that? You can see it from the billing module. It provides you all the details. Estimated charges greater than equal to $5, then it is going to send me a mail or send me a notification. Currently it is in OK state. That means everything is good. So we create another alarm. We create a metric, billing metric. You can see the graphs from here. But we select billing. After that, we total estimated charge. This is the metric we are going to use. For US dollar currency, you can change the currency as well. But we are going to say that when the charges for my billing goes above a threshold level, so you can also mention your period. If you want more than 6 hours, 1 day, whatever, you can select that. And you can mention the kind of value or the mechanism you want, functionality you want, greater or greater than equal to, lower than. But for us, we want if in case it is more than 10 US dollar, the billing goes above 10 US dollar, please send me some kind of notification, please send me some kind of alert. So we go to next. Now this SNS, simple notification service, we are going to study about it in CloudWatch, okay? But for now, there is a default SNS, simple notification service, which is already made available to us. When it says send a notification to, and we select a topic. So there is a concept of topic, we will cover that. But when you select this topic, it is going to send you a mail on your registered email address. You click next, you just give an alarm name and a description, and it can get created. So this is just for testing purpose that I'm showing you, but I already have an alarm created for me, so I'm not going to redo it. But what this functionality provides, whenever you're billing, because of the kind of usage you are doing, if in case it gets above 10 US dollar, it is going to send you a notification in form of an email to your registered email address. Okay. So, but we are not going to do it. That's all for today. And if you like the video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.